In the ancient kingdom of Obanji, where the drums spoke louder than words and the moon watched over every secret, there lived a king so cruel that even the rivers seemed to flow in fear of him. They called him King Zorom, a ruler whose heart had turned darker than the deepest forest. He taxed the poor until mothers cried themselves to sleep. He punished farmers when the rain refused to fall, and anyone who dared question him disappeared before sunrise. But deep inside the sacred forest, hidden beneath whispering trees and ancient shadows, an old prophecy waited. A prophecy that foretold the fall of the wicked king and the rise of a child nobody respected. Long ago, beyond the red hills and golden savannas of West Africa, stood the mighty kingdom of Obanji. The kingdom was rich with palm trees, flowing rivers, and crowded marketplaces filled with colorful fabrics, spices, gold, and music. Travelers came from distant lands to trade. But behind the beauty of Obanji hid a terrible truth. The people lived in fear. Every morning before sunrise, villagers stepped outside their huts, praying not to attract the anger of King Zorom. The king had not always been wicked. As a young prince, he was brave, intelligent, and admired by the people. Many believed he would become a ruler greater than his father. But power changed him. Greed entered his heart like poison. Year after year, he demanded heavier taxes. Farmers surrendered almost all their harvests. Fishermen gave away most of their catch. Even children were forced to work in the royal farms under the burning sun. While the king's palace grew larger and richer, the people grew weaker and hungrier. If a man complained, soldiers dragged him away in chains. If a woman begged for mercy, the king laughed at her tears. Soon, silence covered the kingdom. Not even the elders dared speak against him. And in African villages, when elders become silent, darkness is never far away. Far from the kingdom, deep inside the sacred forest of Ajaka, lived an old blind woman named Mama F. Some believed she was a witch. Others believed she could hear the voices of the ancestors. Children feared her lonely hut because strange birds perched on its roof every night. But Mama F carried ancient wisdom older than the kingdom itself. One evening, as thunder rolled across the sky and winds swept through the forest, a young orphan boy named Jabari wandered among the trees searching for firewood. Jabari was poor, skinny, and mocked by nearly everyone in the village because he stuttered whenever he spoke. People called him useless, but Jabari possessed something far more powerful than strength. He had a kind heart. As he searched through the forest, he suddenly heard a weak voice calling for help. Following the sound, Jabari discovered Mama F trapped beneath a heavy tree branch. Most people would have run away in fear, but not Jabari. Without hesitation, he lifted the branch and helped the old woman stand. Then he carried her basket all the way back to her hut. Inside the hut, cowrie shells hung from the ceiling while smoke from burning herbs curled through the air like spirits dancing in the darkness. Mama F smiled softly. "You are brave," she whispered. Jabari lowered his head shyly and replied that he only wanted to help. But the old woman suddenly became serious. "The ancestors brought you here for a reason." The fire inside the hut crackled violently. Then Mama F spoke words that would change Jabari's life forever. "The wicked king will fall, and you will stand before him." Jabari froze in fear. He could barely believe what he was hearing. How could a poor orphan boy challenge the most feared ruler in the land? But Mama F turned her blind eyes toward him and whispered softly, "In every generation, the humble are chosen to destroy the proud." Days later, disaster struck Obanji. The rain stopped falling. At first, the people remained hopeful. But weeks passed, then months. The rivers slowly dried beneath the scorching sun. Crops died in the fields. Hunger spread across the kingdom like fire. Children cried through the night, while parents stared helplessly at empty bowls. The elders gathered before King Zorom and pleaded with him. They warned that perhaps the gods and ancestors were angry. They begged him to show kindness before worse things happened. But the king exploded with rage. He accused the elders of disrespect and ordered one of them whipped before the entire village. Fear returned stronger than ever. But that very night, something terrifying happened inside the royal palace. King Zorom woke suddenly, unable to breathe. Dark shadows filled his chamber, and from the darkness came whispers. "The ancestors have judged you." The king screamed and lit his lantern.
The ancestors have judged you.
From that night on, nightmares haunted him. He saw burning villages, rivers of blood, and a child standing upon his throne. The same child every single night. Jabari. Fear slowly turned the king mad. Consumed by terror, King Zorom summoned his soldiers and ordered them to hunt down the orphan boy. The soldiers stormed through villages, searching every hut and marketplace. But Jabari had already returned to Mama F inside the sacred forest. The old woman listened quietly as the boy trembled with fear. He confessed that he did not want to die. Crops grew tall and green across the land. And for the first time in many years, the people smiled again. The elders praised Jabari for saving the kingdom. But the young boy simply shook his head. No man saves a kingdom alone. The people wanted him to become king. But Jabari refused the throne. Instead, he helped the elders choose a wise and peaceful ruler. And from that day forward, the story of the wicked king became a warning passed from generation to generation. A reminder that power without kindness destroys itself, and that sometimes the smallest voice can change the fate of an entire kingdom.